What the city is talking about. This is Montreal Now on News Talk Radio, CJAD 800.
That is James Mennie. He is over at the Montreal Gazette. So, Jim, you want to start with Montreal experiencing, what'd you call it, a law and order epiphany?
Well, did it have one? I'm not sure it's going to have one. I thought for sure it would have one, and maybe I'm dating myself by saying this. But when the news broke on the weekend that you had this woman, this poor woman, this French tourist, and her 7-year-old daughter were the victims of this fire in this whatever you want to call it, this hostel in Old Montreal. And there was a suggestion that, maybe it's possible this fire was started as part of an ongoing problem. You've got 3 gangs, all of them shaking down the same people for protection money. And if you don't pay up, you get smashed up, you get set fire to, whatever. I don't know. But I when I saw that story break, for a second it was back in 1995. For a second it was like this 11-year-old boy had been killed in a bomb blast during the criminal biker wars. And then all of a sudden, everybody got a rocket up there, what, and all of a sudden people were saying, no, this is going to stop, it's going to stop right now, and they created a special squad. I'm getting the impression, Aaron, I like to think that I'm wrong, but here we are, it's Monday, it's been 2 days since this story broke. I really hope that this is not something that we're supposed to learn to coexist with. I really hope this is something that we're not getting numb to. I can understand why we would be. I can understand it because in Montreal, and no, this has not always been this way, not in the time that I've been working there. Every day, something gets shot at. Every day, something gets set fire to. Every day, someone's getting stabbed, shot, whatever. There's always something. It used to be, I remember having this conversation with you a couple of years ago. It was every other day. Now it's every day. And is this normal now in Montreal? And you can say, well, Montreal's still a safe city. Well, it is, except when it isn't. It is, except when it happens in your neighborhood. And there have been incidents of violence and organized crime violence in every single neighborhood on this island. So I'm just wondering, where are we? I know the opposition is turning around and saying, well, let's have a coroner's inquest into how these rooms were allowed to function, how these apparent really, really dicey in terms of security measures, these rooms were allowed to operate. Well, that's one element. But on the other hand, I wish someone could ask the mayor of Montreal, who is the boss of the chief of police, should we get used to this? Should we turn around and say, listen, we've got the joie de vivre, we got that big zero over at Place Ville-Marie, but the fact is, from now on, and because they seem to be able to operate with impunity, we're going to have criminal gangs who are going to do whatever they damn well want every night. And if you're lucky, it's not going to affect you. And if you're not, well, c'est la vie is part of the joie de vivre of living in Montreal. But I'm telling you, that's where I feel we're going, and it just scares the hell out of me.
Yeah, it's interesting you're saying that. First of all, with respect to that hotel, hostel, whatever we're calling it, there is that video out there, right, of someone kicking down the front door of that restaurant, and then by the time whoever runs out, there's smoke already coming out of that building, right? So there is that. Mm-hmm. And then Journal de Montréal had a video over the weekend. I don't know if you've seen this. These just hoods walking into a restaurant in the middle of the day, right, while they were doing business, smashing everything in sight. And basically demanding $100,000 in extortion money. And it made me think, and I think there's a quote in the story, Jim, that said, if the mafia, if Vito Rizzuto was still here, it would have taken one phone call for that to stop. But that's not where we are now. Now there's a turf war again in the city. And not just that. It's like you've got 3 groups, all of whom are shaking down the same people at the same time. How do you stay ahead? If back in the day, okay, if you're paying protection, you would pay the protection and you were protected and nobody else. No, you've got 3 guys coming in saying, give me what I want or I burn down your store. And basically, if you don't pay them, it's one of the other 2 is going to burn down your store. What the hell's going on? Is this community policing? Is this being in tune, being in touch with ordinary Montrealers? Is this bringing policing to is this bringing policing to the public? Because I know that doesn't work. I can absolutely assure you, every morning I go into work and, I do breaking news over at the Gazette. Every morning there is a piece of arson. Every morning somebody's house got shot up. Every morning someone's car got shot up. And now we tend to shrug. But the fact is, it's going on. The fact is, it has become part of our daily routine. And there is something fundamentally wrong with that. And if it has made us numb, and if it's made us numb to a heinous crime, that seems to have been committed this past weekend in Old Montreal.
man, like I say, what does that say about where the city is headed? Because I got news for you. When you keep maintaining this kind of hands-off attitude, when you don't get up, in whether they're organized or disorganized criminals, when you don't get up in their faces, you're simply emboldening them. I've told you on the show before, I get the feeling there's a real sense of impunity on the part of any criminal organization in Montreal right now, that they can do whatever the hell they want. Okay?
So we have a new police chief here. So we've had Fadi Daguerre a couple of times on the show. By the way, he's back this afternoon at 5:30. And I was going to bring this up because one of the issues, or one of the things I saw last night, Jim, someone actually threw a Molotov cocktail into a dep.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, it's a dep. I mean, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Right? They're not making $1 million a year at this place. So, but that, you're right. This is the kind of thing we're seeing every day, and I'm hoping we're not conditioned to it now. But do you put any of this on the new policing or the type of policing that came in with them?
And I think I've always heard from cops, we have to work with one hand behind our back because the politicians don't want to get too much grief. In case we arrest someone who looks a certain way, we'll be accused of being racist. And I've always said it's a garbage argument. If you get a villain, people are not going to give you any problems. If you go out and start rousting people, yeah, you're going to have problems. But the thing is, in a lot of cases, you have very, very effective police officers, dealing with these people. And the problem is, whether it's a matter of resources, whether it's a matter of priorities, but right now, man, it's like, this can't be normal. This is not the Montreal that I knew. I was about to say grew up in, but I didn't grow up in Montreal. But when I lived in Montreal for 35 years actually, okay, this was not normal. Even when the gang war was going on, when the criminal biker war was going on, this was not normal. And every time there was something very public, it was an outrage. I don't get that feeling anymore.
Well, I'm going to ask the police chief because I think it's a very valid point. Perhaps people don't see it as much as you do, right? You're seeing this every morning, as you say, when you check, when you go to work at the Gazette. But there have been far too many incidents, and you're right. It's interesting. It dawned on me as well when Fadi Daguerre was in here at the beginning, right? When he first came from Longueuil, where he'd instituted this neighborhood policing sort of strategy, and we thought this will do really well in Montreal. Look, maybe they're out there in Montreal North and RDP, and maybe they're dealing with kids out there. This is happening in the city. Yep. So why are we not doing why can't we be doing a better job of this? And the thing is, let's be careful too. And please, if you're listening, if you live in the West End, you think it's an East End problem? No, it's a West End problem. If you're living in the West Island and you think it's a downtown problem? No, it's a West Island problem. Believe me. And the number of incidents are beginning to catch up. There is no, that's a very bad area, as my mother used to say when I was a kid. That's a very bad area. You shouldn't go there. You know what? They're all bad. They're all catching up in terms of incidents, in terms of numbers of incidents. Because and that's just my opinion, I feel that these villains really have a sense of impunity. That they get away, they're out of there by the time the cops get there. The cops make a report. I would hate to be the head of the arson department right now, because quite frankly, I think my filing room would look like the archives at the end of Indiana Jones. It's like it's just be files and files. There's something every day, every other day. And some are very banal, and some, as we saw this past weekend, are absolutely obscene. But the fact is, it's going on, and I don't get, Aaron, I don't get a feeling of a sense of urgency on the part of the city administration. I don't want to go after individuals. On the part of the administration and on the part of the police department, overall, there's no sense of urgency. Not the urgency, say, I felt, God help us, 30 years ago, when an 11-year-old boy got killed in a bomb blast. Well, as I said, I will ask Fadi Daguerre because I'm with you on this, Jim. And I will point out, by the way, we'll move on, that I've seen too many places right in the heart of downtown be targeted, right? It's not like they're working out in the burbs anywhere, as you said. They're here. Oh,
absolutely. And sometimes right around the corner from like a downtown police station. Yeah. So okay, whatever.
All right. Let me move on. Talk about what's the issue with Francois Legault. His Statistics Bureau disagrees. What's this about?
That's a pretty open-ended question. No, the Quebec Institute of Statistics has determined that by I think it's 2071, we're going to go from 9 million to 10.6 million. And guess what? The only reason that's going to happen is exclusively because of immigration. In fact, according to their forecast that they posted today, a lot of baby boomers, that famous, all-powerful generation, I hate to put it this way, between now and 2027, a lot of them are going to expire, as it were. They'll cross the Rainbow Bridge, and all of a sudden we're going to be in negative growth. We're going to have a situation where the number of deaths outnumber the number of births in this province, and the only way the slack is to be picked up, immigration. So I'm very sorry, Mr. Legault. I realize you want to paint this, and you and your followers want to paint this as some major problem that needs to be solved. But the fact of the matter is, this, whether you like it or not, this is a reality that not just Quebec, but every single jurisdiction has to face. And I understand you're getting shortchanged by Trudeau, and he's got to be slapped around and have some immigration policy put into him as well. But please stop playing games here, because these people are not going away. And in fact, these people are becoming increasingly essential with every passing year.
Jim, I asked last week on this whole idea of the population decreasing, the baby boom, that we're done. Is it time to bring back, I may have asked you this at the time, is it time for the provincial government here, let's just deal with Quebec, to consider paying people to have kids?
Why not? Why not pay a baby bonus? I think you get it. I'm sorry, I've never been a parent. I don't know the bureaucracy. But I think you do get some kind of, child support.
There are child support built in, but I'm saying over and above that, Quebec looks at the problem and says,
why not? Why the hell not?
Okay.
What if you want? Hey, listen. If you want to spend millions promoting the use of French, maybe you should spend millions promoting the creation of people who would be speaking French. Just saying.
Kind of makes sense. James Mennie at the Montreal Gazette. Thank you, Jim.